Hello and welcome to the part 2 video of the lesson, the skeletal system. I hope you have all watched the part 1 video. Now let's see what we have learned there. In the part 1 video on the lesson, the skeletal system, you have learned that the skeletal system is an organ system made of bones. Bones are living structure which perform bodily functions. You also learned about the parts of the skeletal system and the number of bones in each part. You learned that the skeletal system may be divided into the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton is comprised of the skull, the rib cage, and the backbone, and the appendicular skeleton is comprised of the shoulder or pectoral girdle and upper limbs, and the hip or pelvic girdle and lower limbs. You've also learned the names of the bones in the skeletal system. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to define a joint, name the types of joints, distinguish between cartilage and ligament, explain the type of movement and location of the following movable joints: the ball and socket joint, hinge joint, pivot joint, and sliding joint. Distinguish between tendons and ligaments. Differentiate between the types of muscles and their functions. Joints. Joints are places where two or more bones fit together. Bones are held together by bands of fiber-like structures called ligaments. Ligaments help control the movement of bones. Cartilage is a stiff but flexible substance that are present at joints where the bones rub against each other. They help protect the joints and ease movement at the joints. We can find cartilage in our body in between the vertebrae of the backbone. That is, the intervertebral discs are made up of cartilage. Cartilage is also present where the ribs joins with the sternum or the breastbone. Another place where the cartilage is present is where the pelvic girdles join together. Cartilage is also present at the movable joints such as the joint between the hip girdle and the femur, or the knee joint, the elbow joint, and the shoulder joint. The joints at the skull do not allow any movement because these joints are made up of fibrous connective tissue and not cartilage, and these joints are called as sutures. The joints of the human body may be divided into movable joints or immovable joints based on the range of motion that it allows the bones attached to it. Immovable joints are the skull, the ribs, and the girdle. The movable joints of the body allow movement to the bones attached to them. They contain a synovial liquid, which is a lubricating liquid that reduces the friction between the joints. Now, we have learned that the bones cannot move by themselves but need to be powered by muscles, and therefore all movable joints have muscles attached to them. We are going to learn about 4 different types of movable joints: the pivot joint, ball and socket joint, gliding, sliding or planar joint, hinge joint. In addition to these, there are 2 other types of movable joints too, which are called as the saddle joint and the condyloid joint. But we will not be talking about these in this video. Movable joints are called as synovial joints. There are 6 types of synovial joints, which we just saw. A joint is a place where one bone meets another. At movable joints, the bones continuously rub against each other. This can cause great wear and tear with time. To reduce the wear and tear and to allow the bones to function smoothly, the ends of the bones, where the bones meet with each other, is covered with a layer of cartilage, which is a stiff but flexible substance found at these joints. These bones are held together by a band of fiber-like structure which is called as the ligament. The capsule formed where the bones meet with each other is filled with the lubricating fluid, that is the synovial fluid. The synovial fluid functions in the same way as that of oil, which is used to lubricate the parts of a machine. Now let us learn about the pivot joint. The pivot joint is a type of synovial joint that allows the rotation up to 180 degrees, that is, movement from side to side. This type of movement can be seen at the neck. Two examples of pivot joints in your body are the pivot joint in your neck, which is formed between the first and the second vertebrae of the vertebral column. The pivot joints are also found between the radius and the ulna of the lower arm. Note that it is only the ulna which is attached to the humerus. The radius, which is a thinner bone, is attached to the ulna by a ligament which forms a ring-like structure that holds the radius to it. The ball and socket joint. The ball and socket joint is a type of synovial joint in which the ball-shaped surface of one rounded bone fits into the cup-like depression of another bone. It enables the bone's circular movement in any direction. Ball and socket joints are found in 4 places of a body. The hip joint, where the femur is joined to the pelvic girdle, as well as the shoulder joints, where the humerus is joined to the shoulder blades. Now let us learn about the hinge joint. The hinge joint allows movement only in one direction, that is back and forth up to 180 degrees. The hinge joints work in a manner similar to that of the hinges of a door. Examples of a hinge joint are seen in the elbow joint, the knee joint, as well as the joint between the fingers and the palms. The elbow joint is formed between the ulna of the lower arm and the humerus of the upper arm. At the knee joint, the hinge joint is found between the femur of the thigh and the tibia of the lower leg. Gliding, sliding or planar joints are found where the bone surfaces are flat. This allows a gliding movement in any direction, up and down, left and right, or diagonally, but only along the plane of the bone. This allows a vertebrae to bend, twist or turn because the intervertebral joints are examples of gliding, sliding or planar joints. Similarly, the wrist bones in the hand also are capable of moving in a waving motion because of the presence of the gliding, sliding or planar joints. The same goes with the ankle bones in the feet. Now let's sum it up. We have learned about the 4 major types of movable joints or synovial joints. The pivot joint, which allows side-to-side movement up to 180 degrees, is present in the neck region as well as between the radius and the ulna of the lower arm and the tibia and the fibula of the lower leg. The hinge joint, which allows back and forth movement up to 180 degree, is found at the elbow joint between the humerus and the ulna of the arms, as well as the femur and the tibia of the knee joint. The ball and socket joint are found at the shoulder joints, where the humerus is joined to the shoulder blade, as well as the pelvic joints, where the femur is joined to the pelvic girdle. The sliding or planar joints are found at your wrists as well as your ankles, and it allows a waving motion in one plane. Now comes the question, how do bones move? The movement of bones are powered by muscles. Bones are surrounded by tissues called muscles. There are over 600 muscles in the human body. Tendons attach the skeletal muscle to bones, and movement is accomplished when the muscles contract and relax. Now recall that we have learned about fiber-like structures called ligaments. Ligaments join bone to bone, whereas tendons join muscle to bone. Now let us learn about the types of muscles. Depending on how well you can control the movement, there are primarily two types of muscles, the voluntary muscles and the involuntary muscles. Voluntary meaning that you can control the movement of these muscles on your own. Voluntary muscles are also called as striated or striped muscles. Involuntary muscles are present where movement is not controllable. These muscles are also called as unstriated or unstriped muscles. Involuntary muscles are of two types, the smooth muscles and the cardiac muscles. Now let us see where they are found. The voluntary muscles are also known as skeletal muscle tissue. They are attached to the bones and they allow for movement. These can be controlled by an individual and therefore they are called as voluntary muscles. They are also called as striped or striated muscles because, as you can see, they have these bands of light and dark tissue. The smooth muscles, which are involuntary muscles, are found lining the digestive system. This allows the food to move down the digestive canal as it gets digested, and this movement is not controllable by us. The cardiac muscles are present in our heart. These muscles work all the time, whether we are asleep or awake. These muscles do not get tired. They pump the blood to different parts of our body. We have learned to identify the types of joints, explain how the range of motion of a joint depends on its type, distinguish between the cartilage, ligament, and the tendon, understand the different types of muscles in the body. Now, let us see how much you remember. The joint at the neck is called the pivot joint. The pivot joint allows for side-to-side movement. The joint at the shoulder is called the ball and socket joint. The ball and socket joint allows for free rotation of the hands. The joint at the elbow is called the hinge joint. The hinge joint allows for forward and backward movement up to 180 degrees. The joint at the hip is a ball and socket joint. Ball and socket joints allows for free rotation. The joint at the wrist is a planar or gliding joint or sliding joint which allows for waving motion from side to side. The joint at the knees is a hinge joint. Hinge joints allows for backward and forward movement up to 180 degrees. The joint at the ankle is a gliding or sliding joint. It's a planar joint that allows for the foot to be moved from side to side. All for this video. I'll see you again in the next video where we'll learn more about the skeletal system. Till then, bye-bye.